This is Prophet Blaine, and you are listening to Worship Radio International, the world's #1 online Christian radio station.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I am so excited to be here. Normally it is at 1, but today was a change in plans. But I thank God that we are here. So first, what I want to do is introduce the show, Glow, where we hear glow. God's love overrules the world. So yes, we're excited. And I have a special guest on today. Here is my spiritual mother and my natural mother, Pastor Shauntae Warren.
Amen. I'm glad to be here.
Amen. I'm glad that you are here. Can you open us up in prayer, please?
Oh, wow. Father, in the name of Jesus, God, we thank you on today. Father, we thank you for those who will tune in on today, God. Lord, we thank you for the spirit of joy, the spirit of peace. God, let it radiate on today, God. We ask that you would lift and remove burdens on today, God, and we just give you praise for joy unspeakable in our lives in Jesus' name. I just feel the spirit of joy. I think that people need to be happy, that
Yes.
we need to really begin to enjoy life, really begin to enjoy God. Serving God is not boring. I don't think so.
Nope, it's not. Serving God is not boring.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't think it is.
I agree 100%.
I think we need to begin to glow, to let our light shine, to begin to shed the love of God so that others would see God on the inside of us. And that doesn't mean that we have to speak in tongues, just be Jesus, Jesus everywhere we go, but just letting that light shine by radiating, by glowing.
Yes, by glowing. So with that being said, we are here on Glow. Like I said, God's love overrules the world. I am Brianna Warren, and this is my special guest. And on today, the reason why I wanted to have my mother on the show is one, because I feel like there is just power in mother and daughter relationships. And this is somebody who has been a role model in my life and somebody who I look up to almost every day when in any situation. This is somebody that I think about as far as to how would they try to handle a certain situation. And even some of the things that she has said to me, it like I said, it always rings in my head. And she has played a very huge role in who I am today. And then the next reason I would love to have her on here is because she is just, God is literally shining on her in this season. And I'm just so excited for what he is doing in her life and with this movement that she has going on. And this movement is woman to woman. I am just in awe of God and what he is doing with her, being a leading woman in this end time. And I just want you to talk a little bit about yourself and woman to woman in this movement.
Oh, wow. I feel so honored. Woman to woman, actually, this is something God had given me probably about, maybe like 10, 11 years ago. Is when we actually began to meet, when we started. And the very first women's conference that I had was called, God had given me something called Pampering the Spirit, Beauty from the Inside Out. Because a lot of times, we'll make sure everything is in place on the outside, but the inside we haven't taken care of. We haven't really spent time working on our spirit man, and we know that the spirit part of us is who we really are. So we begin woman to woman ministries. Like I said, it's been like over 10 years ago, and then God began to still cultivate me and work on me. And then after we started our church, we began back with it last year with No More Fear. And that was a very awesome, awesome time in God. Powerful move of God. And then this year, it brings us to the women who win. People need to understand, not just women, but I know we're specifically talking about women right now, that you win no matter what you go through. That just because you went through something or because you're going through something, it doesn't mean that you're defeated. So we really wanted to come together as women from all over, from all walks of life, really to begin to unify. Because one thing I know, that there is power when there's true unity. Because sometimes we can say as people that we're unified, but when it comes down to it, the unity isn't there. Mm-hmm. But when you have a group of people who are unified, when you are on the same chord, like being in the upper room, when you are on one accord, there is a move of God that can take place and something supernatural can happen. So we are believing that for the supernatural to take place at this women's gathering. They've been saying movement, this women's movement, because we're not just going to stop here. We're going to keep it going. Because we have we meet once a month at Elohim Kingdom Ministries, where we do women's ministry there. And this is just something that we do come together. We like to come together on a larger scale once a year to bring everyone from all over together to have fun.
Yes.
So we can laugh.
Yes.
We can just encourage and empower one another. That's going to be on the first week in August 1st. Brianna and Prophetess Kay will be leading us with prayer on that night, a prayer call at 8 o'clock. And then also on Friday evening, we have Prophetess Sonia Epps that'll be there. That is our night of breakthrough. Then on Saturday, we'll be coming together for all of our workshops in the prophetic river. We have some dynamic speakers, Prophetess Jackson. We have Pastor Dana Berry coming forth. We also have Minister Kanina Adams coming out of Jackson. We have Prophetess Shauntae Adams that'll be coming forth. Bridget Donahoe will be leading us into our prophetic river, and the prophetic river is powerful.
Yes.
The prophetic, it just flows, and everyone who's there, if you would like personal ministry or personal prophecy, the prophets will be there to prophesy over your life. And then we're gonna eat. Everybody likes to eat, right? We're going to eat. We're going to shop. We have some vendors, amazing vendors that are coming that will be there.
Yes.
So make sure that, you bring a little extra pocket cash to support the vendors that'll be there on Saturday. Actually, they'll be with us all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then Sunday morning, myself, I'll be ministering Sunday morning at Elohim Kingdom Ministries in Taylor, Michigan. Then on Sunday at 4, we're going to close it out with an apostolic seal. And Apostle Dr. Sharice will be ministering at 4 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. We're just excited to be able to come together,
Yes.
And I can't wait to meet everybody. It was so awesome last night. They were on the live, and it was women that were coming. It was even a lady, her mom and her children. They're coming from Kansas. They're coming on a bus. I was so humbled. Like, I just was like, God, this is amazing. We have some women coming out of North Carolina. It was a few Texas. So we have women that are coming to connect with us, for this move of God. I'm just excited that God, entrusted us with it. So.
Yes, I am excited as well. That is amazing. Just to attest to that, God is definitely, like you said, He is moving, and He loves to move in unity. And it's been so many I don't want to call it a what is it that they say when women can't come together?
Oh yeah,
misconception,
lies
that women
from
cannot
the pit.
Women cannot come together and support one another, and I just think that that's so false and it's not true, because empowered women empower women. And so I'm so excited just to see everybody come together and for us to just gather amongst one another and love on God, the Creator, and Him just pour out and let His glory flow through the service and through this movement. So I'm excited. But also, while you guys are on here, and I do have this powerful woman of God right here. When I was walking in here, I was talking to her when I was telling her about, man, we was getting together, because I know that I wanted to talk to my mom and share a little bit about woman to woman, but also just about the power in mother and daughter relationships. And I was laughing because this is my mother, but also my spiritual mother. And so therefore I'm an armor bearer. I am an armor bearer, but this is also my mom. So I wanted to talk a little bit about armor bearing on today, and about the relationship that I share with my mom, and just about, like I said, mother and daughter relationships. But it's just an interesting topic to me. I don't know if anybody has ever talked about anything like that, where is you're armor bearing and then you're also a daughter, and is it a difference between the two? Is it all the same? Or I just kind of want you first to share a little bit about that, and I'll share a little bit about my experience as well.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't think it's a difference. Mm-hmm. Yes, naturally, some people can say, well, that's your daughter, but honestly, I don't feel that it's a difference. The love, the responsibility. I mean, the only difference for you is that you're in the house with me. Mm-hmm. where other spiritual daughters may be able to go home, you are there with me. Mm-hmm. So it may, because she'll get out the car, and then I'll have like all of my stuff still in the car, and then she just get out and then walk in the door. Usually, Destiny's here too, but usually Destiny, she's getting older now. She'll be 13 in August. But Destiny, out of all of these 5 babies, Destiny will be the one that generally is going to wait for me and be like, Mom, okay, do you need help with something? But now she's getting older, and the phone like is glued to her hand a little bit more. So now she'll get out the car too. So I'm like sitting in the car. Then I guess it'll hit her. I don't know if the Spirit of God just hit her upside the head. Then she'll be like, oh, and then she'll walk back. Because Brianna, if anybody doesn't know, Brianna is a sleepy head, okay? She's enthusiastic, she's radiant and joyous and all of this, but this woman of God loves her sleep, okay? My mom will always say, even from when she was smaller, that Brianna should always have beauty. She shouldn't have wrinkles or bags, because she is going to get it in. She gonna get to sleep in. But even from little, she would be in a stroller. We would be out at the store, and when it was like time to go to sleep, most kids, you had a problem making them go to bed for nap time. Not this one. It's like, I'm sleepy bed. I know I'm embarrassing you. Great. That's what parents do. But anyway, back to the original question. I don't really think that is a difference. For me, personally, I think that the love is the same. The responsibility, is the same. It's bearing the armor, bearing the weight. Armor bearing is a position of covering, a position of servitude, a position of honor. You're helping to shield, to carry weapons, to help to go to war with your leader, and I think sometimes even with armor bearing, some people feel like if they're not up close, or they feel like they're not necessarily in the leaders or whoever they're serving personal space, that they're not armor bearing. No, you could be a member of the ministry and you are still supposed to be able to armor bear, because you're bearing the armor, bearing the weight, so that it's not heavy for the person who's leading, in the battle. So you're shielding, you're protecting. But I know sometimes she kind of go back like, okay, are you pastor now or are you mom now? Okay, which one are you? Let me know. Which one are you? What we doing today? But I don't have dual personalities, so I treat my spiritual children.
That is very true.
The same way I treat my natural children. And I'm pretty sure if you ask some of them, or if they see me interact with my natural children, I treat them the same. I do. I try to treat them all the same. Like I told my spiritual children, hey, if you come in covenant, with us at EKM, make sure you ready. Because I'm a covenant keeper. I believe in covenant relationships, and you just can't break away that easy, unless it's something that you want to do. So yeah, but it is kind of funny when she's like, we're walking in the door and because it was raining, so she didn't want to get her hair wet. Mind you, it's raining and I'm sitting in the car. So she hops out of the car and runs in the building and leaves me in the car.
I think my mic not on. I don't know if my mic is on. But I wasn't just like, oh, like, man, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm saying it's raining, like, she is gonna get up and get out of the car, and so she's sitting there. Sometimes I'll be thinking God tell her, like, just wait a second, like, because this is a test right here. So you know what? Sit in this car and see what she gonna do. See if she is gonna come back, or see if she gonna, because this time when I did, I turned around, I looked, and you was like like, I see your face, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, like, she going inside and it's raining. But I did turn back around because I get, I think and I say, okay, you know what?
The Spirit of God speaks.
He does.
To the prophet.
And that's exactly what I was about to say in this is this story. I love this story about Ruth and Naomi because it's very powerful, very, very powerful story. And my mom, and my spiritual mom, my pastor, had us do an assignment on it. But in studying it, and I began to honestly take it beyond just to sitting in that moment and study it. It's literally something that I think about in my spare time, is because I look at my mom and I seen how she served in ministry. I always say this story because of me watching her hands on, and some of the other people amongst her. Like I always say, my auntie Rashonda and just other people that I seen serve. But just with those two as an example, is when they would serve, it would be, like I said, as unto God, but just the diligence that they had in it, and it was a lifestyle. So regardless of the fact of this being my mother, or and I'm always, I would say, not always going into constant battle, but it will always be in the back of my mind, like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm doing this as unto God, and God is on the inside of her, and this is my covering. This is, who is covering me spiritually, not just naturally. So when I would be thinking, even now, is I sometimes do go back and forth, like, man, like, okay, right now, like, because when I was younger and she didn't, carry the title, even though titles really don't mean anything at all, as a pastor, or it was more so armor bearer. My mom, it would be just, going in the house, and I still would help her, but it was still different. It wasn't the same as it is now. when it's a covering, as far as to where it's something that I have to get. I'm learning now, whereas to before I always was learning, but now that I'm more, I would say, more cognitive, more understanding, more, you know what, now that I know, now that I'm ready to take on this role, because as far as I'm concerned, God had me in armor bearer training for my mom before I even got the official title as, armor bearing with my mom. But like I said, with the story of Naomi and Ruth, to me, that is a true example of the relationship of an armor bearer, but even with our relationship, because that was her daughter. She was married into the family. But what was powerful to me in that story is a lot of people always look as far as to with just the whole beauty of Ruth being married and her gaining a husband, and that's good, fine, and dandy. But to me, that story is not just solemnly sold out on it has nothing to do with Boaz. It's about Naomi and Ruth. It's about the following. It's about the being ready to lay down your life, bearing of the arms. It's about forgetting what your own agenda is and being able to carry that role as a daughter, as a servant, to your leader, because of what God has placed on the inside of them. Because a lot of people, when I look at that story, they like I said, is when I would hear it, I would just think about Boaz. I'm Ruth waiting for my Boaz. Amen. I can't wait to get Boaz, But what people don't look at in the story is not about Boaz. The only reason why Boaz was intrigued by Ruth is because she stuck with Naomi.
Wow.
And so when I was thinking about that, I said, well, my God, that means I need to, it don't even got nothing to do with, like I said, with Boaz. It's just something that I have to do. I have to be a servant leader because of what it can bring. It's more than just a husband. It's more than just a man and property and land. It was something that she got out of it. She learned. Naomi taught her a lot of different stuff, how to work in the field and how to do stuff, how stuff was supposed to be done. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, man, I need to follow behind and serve at a deeper magnitude. And I think armor bearing now is not the same as from me observing and kind of being in it. Armor bearing is not the same now as it was before when I was younger, and not that I've just been on earth for all these years, but just in watching ministry and armor bearing, just it's different now. And I think a lot of the times people think about armor bearing and serving, but they think about doing it to reap the harvest, to reap the benefits of what it is I'm going to gain from this, instead of doing it as unto God, doing it as unto soul and to help somebody's vision grow. And that's what it's all about. And everything else will come and add on to you. And so just on today, that's why I was just like, it's just power in who I am today. And I always tell this story. I think my mom should write a book about knowing who you are, because this changed my life. I tell this story. People probably like, she always tell this story, but when something life changing happens, this was a peak and a pivotal moment in my life when she told me, you don't know who you are. She told me that, and I was sitting there like, man, but it was because I really didn't know who I was. And I went on this journey of man, like, this is somebody who really is near and dear to me telling me I don't know who I am. And y'all, not only did she say it once, I left and told God to tell her I know who I am. And she came back right after I told God and told me again, you don't know who you are. So I'm like, man, and I'm going to start changing this story, because I don't want these people to just be like, man, this woman is just wow. Telling her child she don't know who she is. But it was the word of the Lord. And so I'm saying that and giving that as an example, as is in serving, when you are serving up under somebody, and when it is somebody who is in your life as, your leader. This is just for anybody who is armor bearing or working close with their leaders, or anybody in ministry, is that listen to the words that they speak. It's not just, and sometimes it may not come out as, sunshine and daisies and roses. Sometimes you may catch the thorns, but all of the parts to a flower is important. The thorns, the stem, the roses, even though the thorns don't always feel good, it's still important to a rose. A thorn is it plays an important part. And so those thorns too, now that I'm thinking about it, I just love the Holy Spirit because he gives good revelation. It's there to, a lot of times when I did research, and sometimes I don't even understand why God be having me look up all this different stuff sometimes, but now I know why. And so with a thorn, it's because, when they sit and when it grows out, those thorns, even though it's hard or to the touch or whatever, they're supposed to be hard to the touch because it's for the protection. It's to keep out all the things that's not supposed to touch the flower. I love God. Yes, that's good. It's to keep away all the things. So when our leaders are coming to us with the thorns, and sometimes you get to see the beauty in the flower with the roses, and they speak and they talk, but sometimes that word of correction, the thorns, it comes where they need to tell you don't know who you are, because they have to cultivate and mold our spirit, man, because it's bigger than just us. And so in serving with my mom, I had to realize that this is not just my mom, oh, mom, I'm just, I respect my mom, yes, would do anything for her, but it's bigger than me. And I would even say for the ones who quote unquote armor bearing or have a title, just in your natural relationships with your parents or, your grandparents or your aunts and your uncles, us as young people, what we have to do in this time now is have a new level of respect for our forefathers, our peers, our parents, and just respecting what the wisdom that God has placed and the knowledge on the inside of them, and not look at it as if they're looking at our lives as if we don't know what we're doing all the time, or as if they're judging us, but as if a word of knowledge. And sometimes wisdom is not just taken, because there's some stuff that my mom say, I'm not gonna lie, that I'm not gonna say that I disagree with it, but we have our own differences of opinions. But I listen to what she says, and I do apply and try to apply it to my life. But it's just still a certain level of respect for them because of the wisdom that's on the inside of them, and because of who they are and who God has placed them in a role in our lives.
Yeah, that's true, because I know when you're talking about working in ministry, and it could be a dual role, whether it's a family member or a friend, or I definitely believe that when I say that there's no difference, I'm saying like the love, the respect, the level of honor. To me, it should be the same. That's in the body of Christ, in the world, we have to begin to honor one another more, just as humans, sister to sister, brother to brother, vice versa. It's just a lack of disrespect that's just is in the earth. But I believe that it is the job of the church, the body, to begin to raise the standard and to show that, because we are supposed to be the example of Christ in the earth. But definitely there is a difference as far as, for sure, the responsibility, I would say, because God he'll stretch your leader wider, further. So then if you're there and you are working in ministry with your leader, your responsibility is definitely going to increase. And then also, as far as if you're in the household with them, definitely, because they're going to get it if nobody else gets it, you know, as far as you know, if it's something that needs to be done, if it's something last minute that comes up, it's just like, hey, you there, you know. A lot of times as a leader, you look for who is available, who you don't have to pull or tug at to flow with you. So sometimes I would say, you know, it is going to be a little bit more weightier to a certain degree, because you want somebody who's going to flow with you. I know that's the type of person I am. I'm the type of person, if I feel like you don't want to, or if I feel like you have, you know, it's an attitude, I'm like, okay, I'm good, you know, or whatever. But I do realize that when God has called you to serve in ministry, it's a win-win situation. God is cultivating something on the inside of that individual, and then you also are there with the ministry gifts of help and to iron sharpening iron as far as the leader is concerned, you know. And it's a sacrifice, and I don't think a lot of people really understand that. And you hit on something saying that sometimes people serve in ministry for the what they feel they can receive portion, and it is not about that. Our reward is in glory and in, you know, when God blesses us here on the earth. I tell our leaders sometimes, it's nothing that, of course, me and Pastor West, we can give you accolades, we can be a blessing to you, but ultimately your reward is going to come from the King of Kings. So a lot of times you have to make sure that the motivation for why you're doing what you're doing, why you're serving, or why, I tell people, even with giving and sowing, you have to make sure the motive of why you're doing what you're doing is pure and it is clear, you know. And I think sometimes people kind of get that a little bit twisted up sometimes, but I like for people to have clarity. Yes. You know, clarity is a very important word. I think somebody had a question on here. Oh, how do you as a leader get your people to know who they are, to get the people of God? That's Evangelist Cook. I believe one of the things is knowing who you are, is you have to spend time with God. That is a major, because I can tell you who you are all day, but until it clicks with the King of Kings, you know, until you receive it. And that was kind of the moment that me and Brianna, even though I said that to her that day, and my husband was there, Pastor West was there, and he was kind of like, okay,
hold on now,
like,
wait a minute now.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not backing down on this one, because she doesn't know who she is. Yes, she knew who she was, who we had said she was. People prophesied, you know, family has told her who she was and all of these things. But when you don't know, it's an internal knowing, a spiritual knowing. And it wasn't until pretty much a year later. Yeah, a year later. And it was something beautiful to see, because it's like God allowed. That's one thing too, is just, you know, being able to parent and being able to pastor. God allowed me to see it in the spirit realm, that at that moment he said, she knows who she is now. She knows, because when you know who you are up in your life, there is an authority that comes with knowing who God has created you to be. Sometimes we are in warfare because we don't understand who we are. So to know who you are, you got to get in the presence of God. If it takes even getting counsel from your spiritual leader, you got to begin to work on the spirit part of you. And that's because that's the part of us who we really are. It's who God created us to be. Mm-hmm. And then you have to believe it, and then you have to walk in it. And there's an authority that comes, and you can't be worried about people pleasing, who like you, who don't, because it's always gonna be somebody who like you, and it's always gonna be somebody who don't. It's always gonna be somebody who said you should have did it like that, it would have came out better. And then there'll be people that said, you know what, that was great just how you did it. So you can't get Catherine Kuma, I believe it was, who said people are fickle. You'll be like a puppet on a string going back and forth. And that was something that I had to learn early on in walking in this measure with God, because you're not going to please people. It's no way that you'll be able to walk in the fullness of who God has called for you to be if you are concerned about pleasing people. And sometimes God will allow you're going to have to walk alone. Sometimes God allows it though. But he allows that, where it's times where you'll be by yourself, but you're not by yourself. But he does it so that you stay in tune with who you really are. We have another. Pastor Shauntae, what advice would you give armor bearers that have young children or teenagers that do not understand why their mother has to give up family time to serve? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. One of the things that I did in serving, I always communicated with my husband, and always communicated with my family. And just in talking to other armor bearers or those who are, really serving in leadership, one of the things that I asked them, is, for if it's a wife, have you talked this over with your husband? Because if you're about to serve in ministry in that magnitude, I always say it's like the whole house is serving. Because it's not just you, because you're right. There are times that you may have to give up family time or give up, time. So it has to be an understanding, I believe, within the household. That's one of the things that I always ask, you need to, talk to your children and explain to them that they're getting ready to enter into ministry as well. And one of the blessed parts about it, though, is a lot of times people see the children now, but I attribute a lot of it to us serving in ministry, because they served with us. We didn't leave them at home. She like, no, we was right there making beds with the chairs.
Yeah, like Joshua.
Right. We didn't leave them at home. They were included as well. But I believe that communication is one thing that is very, very key, in explaining. And then also one thing I want to say I believe is key too is balance. Is that you have family time, that you make sure that you carve out the time, for your children, carve out the time for, your spouse, even if you're serving, and then that you protect that time. And it was just a blessing last night. I didn't even know what Sean had remembered, but we were talking about now how everyone is just a lot busier. It's just a busy season in our lives. But he was saying like how he remembered us sitting at the table eating dinner together, we had a little rotating that granite piece in the middle of the table, putting all the dishes on it, spinning it around so everybody could get their food out. Because that was one thing, even though we were, serving in God and just in our personal lives as well, we tried to make it a habit of making sure we ate dinner together. And then we talked to all the children and made sure that they said, okay, this is how my day was. What's going on with you? So it was something that was very intentional that we were doing, and a lot of times because we didn't want to be, how sometimes children will walk away from God because, they feel like, God is taking all my parents' time and, all of that kind of stuff or whatever, so the communication portion. And I remember when Brianna was in that phase, we was on our way to a women's conference and me and my mom was in the car and she was manifesting because she wanted to go to a party. And I was telling her she was going to the women's conference and she was just manifesting in the thing. And this is the part that made me mad though. I mean, I was happy, but I was mad. I had to lead worship. So I'm like, okay, this is an attack to try to get my spirit off because I can't lead the people of God into the throne room. But she was manifested in that back seat. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going. My mama like, this is a spirit. I'm like, okay, yes, I know it's a spirit, and I want to get it in the spirit and in the natural. But she did all of that, and on that was a Friday night. She went, and then she stayed at the hotel. My cousin had a room there. She stayed with her, with Monica. You stayed there that night. The next day, I had to work, so I didn't go. She comes home, and she was so excited. Oh, my God, Ma. Oh, my God. I got all of these people spoken to my life. She's showing me the folder, the notes. She wanted me to listen to the prophetic words. I think it was Prophetess Adams, Prophetess Lacidra had spoke over her life, and she was so excited. And all I was thinking in my head was, yeah, and you manifested so bad yesterday.
Like you said, sometimes the spirits use your children. That was a spirit. It just was an attack to try to knock you off your square where you was at,
Yeah, I'm like, so, but I am glad. The thing about it is I am glad that she did enjoy herself being there. And then, too, I think that we have to remember as well that, as parents, yes, we have balance, but we're the parents. The children, I see a lot of times, children are dictating to the parents, like, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to, I'm not going. And I'm like, that's not how we grew up. My grandmother, I saw her with my mom them. If they had been out on Saturday night, everybody in the house was going to church. And she'd get up during testimony service and talk about it. How they had went out the night before or whatever, but it really wasn't an option. So the thing is that I believe that there were seeds, that were planted in the inside. Even with myself, it was only so far that I could go before the Holy Ghost put the hook and will pull me back, where other people I know just kept going because there was seed on the inside of me, from growing up in church. So
we have another question.
Oh, that's for you.
Okay. What advice would you give young adults who want to serve God but are afraid of what their peers will say or think? I think this all goes back to the knowing who you are, and getting there for me, because that's exactly what one of my fights was in serving God, openly amongst my friends and people, because one thing that I was blessed to always, I had my issues with friendships or whatever, but I was always blessed to have, it was an anointing on my life to just draw people. I did always have friends, even if it was the wrong type of friends. I did have friends, but the problem is the decisions I was making out of not knowing who I was, out of not, and as far as to with, I would say, serving God, is because I would be trying to be like everybody else instead of being me, not realizing that God drew those people to me for me to be a light in their lives, for me to because when you are I feel like it's just the enemy. It's just one of his tricky tactics, because a lot of the times we say, like, man, it's a lot of people that don't want to serve God because of it may not be fun, or it may be lame, or it may not look good, or it may be corny or quirky. But a lot of the times when I realized that I was different and I became happy in that and cognitive of being different, is when I realized that, man, my friends actually needed this. This is what they was looking for. This is what, it was a receptivity. It was a, man, like, never thought about it that way. And if somebody didn't understand my love for Christ and didn't understand that, that's who I served, and it was certain stuff I couldn't do, then they were just not meant to be around me that close and personal. But it just ultimately comes in knowing who you are and being confident. It's just something like she said about knowing who you are and being confident even at a young age, is because too, when you do know who you are and being confident and you take that time to really spend time with God and yourself, you attract a certain type of people too, as well. I believe that. Not saying that you won't attract, people who just, they're all going to be sufficient and know who they are and this and that. But at the same time, it is a certain standard that you're held to when you know who you are and you're walking in authority. And so even for yourself, you even begin to look at yourself different. And so, like I was saying, for example, is the advice I would give is just truly taking the time to figure out, why am I here? Why did God create me? What is the purpose of me being here? And digging into that, with, like I said, talking to your spiritual parents, your leaders. It's important, and those relationships they're not just here for no reason. We have to take advantage of those relationships and of wisdom at a young age, because all of that does take advantage. But for advice, like I said, it would just be in finding out who you are and being confident in it. Being confident, because you have to be you. You can't try to fit in. I just believe that everybody should have the mentality that we were not born to fit in. We were born to stand out. Why try to fit in when you were born to stand out? And if you be you, then God has created multiple people on this planet that will support you for who you are, and that will only sharpen that. But just in closing, ultimately, one thing I do want to say is like I said, the reason to all of why I did have my mom, my pastor, on here was to just encourage the women, to encourage young women, to show them that when we are served as young women of God and as women of God, when we are serving in ministry and we are completing assignments, do not do it with the intentions of trying to just see yourself in a position or see yourself somewhere or how far God is going to take you. Do it truly like Ruth did it, as unto God. And for us single women in ministry, serving God in ministry, do not do it with the intent of reaping a Boaz and reaping the harvest of what Boaz had to bring. Because if anybody go back in the story, it was Boaz who became attracted to Ruth because of her servanthood as unto a Naomi, the purity of it, her not coming with the intent. She didn't know that Naomi had land and property, and Boaz, he came to where Ruth was. If anybody really looks at the story, she didn't just go into work in his field, but he disowned pretty much all that he had to bring to the table to come to where she was. And so with that being said, just to remember that in this season, to serve with the magnitude and the heart as us as women, as in knowing who we are in God. It's important to know who you are as a woman and a young woman in God, because of all that God has in store for you. It was something that Juanita Bynum said that stuck with me is a lot of women, us as women and young women, we think about, oh man, like, this guy, he got a car, he got this, he got that. And she yelled and said, buy it yourself, get it yourself. And so for me, it's great. Relationships is good and all, but it's nothing like the relationship with God and knowing who you are, because it's more than just a marriage you can reap. It's the true happiness and the purity and the wholeness that you have in being you and the other people that you can help and encourage. So I just want to encourage all the women and young women to continue to be powerhouses in the realm of the spirit. Continue to serve your leaders no matter what. For the ones who are serving with people who are close to them, kind of like I was saying with this being
don't
my mom.
Familiar.
Yeah, don't get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. Don't get. I would say don't get common. Sister Eulina is on here, and she said that she is her sister's armor bearer, and to me that would even be hard too. We know even another powerhouse woman of God, prophetess Coleman. Her sister is her armor bearer, and I always watch when they serve, and I'm like, oh my God, that's such an honor for you to be able to serve your sister in ministry and not look at it like that's my sister. Like we ate cornflakes together at the table. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not, but to honor the authority, to honor the spiritual authority that God has placed on that individual's life. And this is not just if we're saying if you are related in ministry. That was just one of the things that we talked a little bit about, but just honoring authority, spiritual authority that's just been placed in your life, period. And definitely if there is even a woman mentor that's in your life to honor, and to receive. I think Brianna said something that was really good earlier, that a lot of times as young people, sometimes you all just like have this mind where it's like, I already know. You could be telling them something and they begin to tell you the answer, and you haven't even finished telling them, and they telling you, I know. And sometimes you have to be able to listen and learn and receive those nuggets of wisdom. So I think that that's something that's really, 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 really key too, is being able to have a teachable spirit, so that you can, be open and you can learn and receive. She said she's so hard on. She said she's so hard on me, but we definitely. But it's God's gonna use it for His glory. That's what we say. All things work together for the good. Because I know it was times, I always say I was the one. I did not like getting corrected. That's just something I just did not like to do. That, oh my goodness. But that's a whole nother show. When I say not getting corrected, I'm not that I didn't want to, but just the after effect, the feeling of it. But it's all good for us.
So yes, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Love you all. Don't forget to register for the conference, and we are just excited. Continue to tune in. We will have so much more. I have so much more in store, and just continue to glow. Let God's love overrule the world.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today, daughter. See you, everyone.
This is Prophet Blaine, and you are listening to Worship Radio International, the world's #1 online Christian radio station.